What makes someone snap over a fleeting glance, turning a moment into a storm that engulfs lives? In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where picket fences and manicured lawns painted a picture of harmony, Karen Whitaker's call to 911 on a balmy summer evening would unravel a truth far uglier than anyone expected. The incident, sparked by a single look, spiraled into a confrontation that exposed raw prejudice, shattered reputations, and left a community grappling with its own reflection. Karen, a 42-year-old real estate agent, was known in Willow Creek for her pristine smile and unrelenting perfectionism. Her colonial-style home, always the envy of neighbors, gleamed under the July sun. She was the kind of woman who'd rearrange a neighbor's recycling bins if they were misaligned. Her voice sharp but coated in a veneer of politeness. To some, she was a pillar of the community. To others, a simmering volcano of entitlement. That evening, as she sipped iced tea on her porch, her eyes locked with those of Jamal Carter, a 29-year-old graphic designer walking his dog, Luna, down the street. Jamal was new to Willow Creek, having moved from the city to escape its relentless pace. His warm brown eyes and easy smile had already won over a few neighbors, but Karen wasn't one for newcomers. She claimed his glance was threatening, though Jamal swore he'd only looked up to wave hello. Within minutes, Karen was on the phone with 911, her voice trembling with exaggerated fear. "There's a man loitering, staring at me menacingly," she said, her words clipped and urgent. "I don't feel safe." The operator, calm but firm, dispatched Officer Elena Torres to the scene. Elena, a seasoned cop with a knack for reading people, arrived to find Karen pacing her lawn, her face flushed with indignation. Jamal stood a safe distance away, Luna wagging her tail obliviously. "He's harassing me," Karen insisted, pointing at Jamal. "He's not supposed to be here." Elena raised an eyebrow, noting Jamal's relaxed posture and the leash in his hand. Something didn't add up. As neighbors peeked from behind curtains, a crowd began to form. Among them was Mrs. Evelyn Harper, an 80-year-old widow who'd lived on the street for decades. Evelyn, with her silver hair and sharp wit, was the unofficial historian of Willow Creek, her porch a confessional for the neighborhood's secrets. She watched silently, her eyes narrowing as Karen's accusations grew louder. Elena, sensing the tension, asked Jamal for his side. "I was just walking my dog," he said, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. "I looked up, maybe smiled. Next thing I know, she's screaming at me." Karen's story began to crack when Elena asked for specifics. "What exactly did he do?" she pressed. Karen stammered, her narrative shifting from a threatening stare to vague claims of suspicious behavior. The officer's radio crackled as backup arrived, and with it, a twist no one saw coming. A teenager from across the street, Mia Chan, stepped forward, her phone in hand. "I recorded it," she said quietly, her voice barely audible over Karen's protests. Mia, a shy 16-year-old with a passion for filmmaking, had been testing her new camera from her bedroom window when the confrontation began. The footage was damning. It showed Karen, not Jamal, as the aggressor. Before dialing 911, she'd stormed toward him, hurling racial slurs that cut through the evening air like knives. "Go back to where you came from," she'd shouted, her face contorted with rage. Jamal, stunned, had backed away, his hands raised in defense as Luna whimpered. The video captured every word, every gesture, exposing Karen's lies in stark clarity. The crowd gasped as Mia played the clip on her phone, the audio echoing across the quiet street. Elena's expression hardened. "Ma'am, you're going to need to come with me," she said to Karen, whose face drained of color. "This isn't what it looks like," Karen sputtered, her voice now a desperate plea. But the evidence was undeniable. The neighbors, once divided in their opinions of Karen, now whispered among themselves, their murmurs a chorus of shock and disappointment. Evelyn Harper, still watching from her porch, shook her head. "I knew she had a temper," she muttered. But this, as Elena escorted Karen to the patrol car, Jamal stood frozen, his heart pounding. He wasn't just angry, he was hurt. He'd moved to Willow Creek hoping for a fresh start, a place where he could build a life without the weight of judgment. Instead, he'd been targeted, his very presence twisted into a threat. Mia approached him, her eyes full of apology. "I'm sorry you went through that," she said. "I couldn't just stand there and do nothing." Jamal nodded, managing a faint smile. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. The incident didn't end on that street. Mia's video, uploaded to social media, went viral overnight. By morning, Karen's face was plastered across news outlets, her name synonymous with the term Karen, in its most toxic form. Her real estate business crumbled as clients dropped her, and her social media accounts were flooded with condemnation. Willow Creek, once a haven of suburban tranquility, became a battleground for debates about race, privilege, and accountability. Some defended Karen, claiming she'd been misunderstood. Others, like Evelyn, saw it as a reckoning long overdue. But the story's deepest wound came later, revealed through Evelyn's quiet intervention. Days after the incident, she invited Jamal to her porch for tea. There, she shared a story no one in Willow Creek knew. Karen hadn't always been the polished, controlling woman she presented. 20 years earlier, she'd been a single mother, struggling to raise her son, Ethan, after a bitter divorce. Ethan, now estranged, had been a troubled teen, caught up in a crowd that dabbled in hate groups. Karen had fought to pull him out, but the experience left her paranoid, quick to see threats where none existed. "She never healed," Evelyn said softly. "She turned her fear into a weapon." This revelation didn't excuse Karen's actions, but it added a layer of tragedy to her fall. Jamal listened, his anger softening into a complex mix of pity and resolve. He didn't want to be defined by this moment, nor did he want Karen's life to define her entirely. He chose not to press charges, though the legal system wasn't as forgiving. Karen faced misdemeanor charges for filing a false report, her reputation in tatters. She moved away from Willow Creek, her home sold at a loss, her name a cautionary tale. The community tried to heal. Jamal, with Mia's help, started a local film project to document stories of unity, hoping to rebuild trust. Evelyn became an unlikely ally, sharing her porch with neighbors for candid discussions about prejudice and forgiveness. But the scars remained. Every time Jamal walked Luna, he felt eyes on him, not threatening, but watchful, as if waiting for the next storm. The footage had exposed Karen's truth, but it also exposed Willow Creek's fragility, a reminder that beneath its polished surface lay fault lines of fear and division. In the end, the story wasn't just about Karen's call or Jamal's ordeal. It was about the power of a single moment to unravel lives, to force a community to confront its shadows. It was about Mia's courage, Evelyn's wisdom, and the bitter truth that some wounds, once opened, never fully close. Karen's 911 call, born from a glance she misread, became a mirror held up to a town and a nation struggling to see itself clearly. The footage played on, a haunting loop of words and consequences, leaving behind a question that lingered in the air. How many more Karens were out there, waiting for a glance to set them off? ND.